Because there's a handful of people actually run everything. That's true. It's provable. Not
It's all
conspiracy.
about control. To them we just cattle, numbers, battling each other while they creeping in the shadows, scheming, plotting, clocking your every move, locked in your mind, brainwashed until it's rocking. Got the population operating as they want them, symbolically mocking them, thinking nothing can stop them. So open your eyes to the lies of the evil, the poison in the minds and the lives of your people. And every time they lead you down the line to deceive you, and by then it's always too late to see through the veil that they hide behind, cause your third eye is blind. Better take a stand, we running out of time. Ain't nobody coming to save us, fuck what you had in mind. Arm yourself with the truth and jump behind the battle line. Can we turn it around? Yeah, it's possible. Divided we'll all fall, but united we're unstoppable. This is for the world, this is for the masses, attached to the strings being pulled by puppet masters. This is for the youth, searching for the proof, keep on looking for the clues, I'll provide you with some truth. This is for the ones waking up from the spell, beginning to discover themselves. Yeah, this is for the youth, searching for the truth, keep on looking for the clues, I'll provide you with some proof. Hey yo, the stage is set, the game is rigged, the system isn't broken, it was designed this way, and only the blind obey, give their mind away to these political, parasitical, cynical, criminal-minded individuals, getting you to surrender your freedoms to the hands of the state, with every boogeyman they create, playing they order out of chaos in order to enslave us, distorted our brains to morally degrade us, faces off against each other while they move the pieces on the global chessboard, directing the hordes. I don't come to bring peace, I was sent with a sword, a truth to get you mentally ready for war. Step forth if you got the balls to call out these tyrants, or submit your compliance through silence, cause in this filthy system ain't a single soul to trust. It ain't right versus left, it's a state versus us. This is for the world, this is for the masses, attached to the strings being pulled by puppet masters. This is for the youth, searching for the proof, keep on looking for the clues, I'll provide you with some truth. This is for the ones waking up from the spell, beginning to discover themselves. Yeah, this is for the youth, searching for the truth, keep on looking for the clues, I'll provide you with some proof. This is for the world. Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Cordiner. You're watching A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth, hopefully on my website, freeyourmindne.com. If you're not watching it there, hopefully you're probably over at the onegreatworknetwork.com watching it there. A few items of housekeeping just to go over real quick, like I do every week before I bring in the guest tonight, which you guys already know is Jonathan Wright, but we're going to I just want to show you again the flyer for the Shattering the Illusion conference. And if I can bring that up here in just a second. Here we go. Let's see. There we go. And here we are. So Shattering the Illusion is going to be a one-day online event about natural law, true anarchy, consciousness, mind control, and the occult. It's scheduled for September 24th of 2022. Got an awesome lineup of speakers: Chris Jansen, Ivan Oyola Jr., myself, James Cordiner, Jennifer Rose, Joe Murray, Mark Devlin, Mark Passio, Nathan Redette, Sean McCann, and Will Keller. What's also pretty neat is that we are going to be debuting an original song by Diesel Automatic featuring Joe Murray at the conference. They are actually writing the song for the conference. And well, really, if you want to learn more, just go to shatteringtheillusion.info to learn all that you need to know at this time. Who knows? We might add one or two more speakers. It's something that Joe Murray and I are the ones organizing the event. It's something that he and I have been discussing, is possibly opening up a spot for one more speaker. And so who knows, some changes could happen in the near future. So just keep up with it and, stay informed on this. And I hope you go over to the website. So that's that for the screen sharing. And so if you're watching this on, many platforms here, we got the chat. I really implore you to jump in the chat, get involved, and comment on what we're going to talk about tonight. Tonight's topic is spiritual growth. If you're watching this on Odyssey, your comments won't show up on the restream here because it's a custom feed. It's not one that restream kind of, it's weird the way that they set it up, but it's pretty cool. So if you're watching it on Odyssey, thank you. But I suggest coming over to, freeyourmindne.com/live. And there's a chat room there. I'm pretty sure it'll pop up in the chat over here. So we're going to just bring in Jonathan now and start the show. Hey, Jonathan, what's going on, dude? You're on mute. You're muted.
Hey, brother. How are you?
Yeah, there you are. All right, man. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. It was great the last time we talked, and like I was thinking, a one-on-one conversation would be excellent. And what better conversation to have than something about spiritual growth? It's a hefty topic. I hope we can really kind of do our best tonight, and I'm sure we will.
Do it some justice. Yeah, I think we can.
So now that it is like a one-on-one, why don't we just, jump right in and just tell the people about yourself and, your work and what's led you to this point in your life.
Yeah. So I've come to start sharing my understanding of truth with people in the past, probably almost year now, actually, is when it'll be an anniversary coming up here in a few weeks of Mark's class that I started with last year. And that was right about the time I dropped my website and started making my first couple of videos. And it was really just to kind of get the idea of all the information I had collected and amassed over the years and start sharing it with people. And having gone through major drug and alcohol problems in my life and overcoming them and going through what I would really consider a true born again type of an experience, and then learning about natural law and finding Mark's work within a year of that rebirth, and really kind of set myself on a new course. So within a year of finding Mark's work, I was then putting out similar work, obviously not similar in scope and depth and breadth, but nonetheless, I was talking about natural law and pointing out truth and finding inconsistencies with the mainstream anything, which is, I think, kind of more my thing. I don't really stick to one thing. I like to bounce around. I'm very childlike in my nature, and I that may annoy the hell out of some people, and that's awesome because that's part of my gig too. I really don't care, but I don't really fit in like as an adult in a lot of ways. Just mostly in my attitude, I think. I mean, I still take care of all my stuff better than I think a lot of adults do, but I just do it in a very, very teenage is maybe even giving myself credit, just like kind of goofy, childlike, and I just don't care. It's more fun. I have more fun with life that way. And so anyway, my research and what I present as truth and things that you'll find from me is kind of like that. It's just all over the board, and I can't say that I'm 100% behind anything that I've shared, but it's all for expanding consciousness and getting you to think and open your mind. And some stuff's painfully obvious that, yeah, dude, this is just how it is. And other stuff's a little bit more, makes you kind of critically think. And if nothing else, I want people to do that when they look at my work, is think for themselves and maybe get afraid on one side, because, yeah, it's pretty scary out there and there's a lot of hardcore stuff going on. And again, through my work, I show you at least one or two really good, viable solutions that, although it might require some hard work and a little bit of faith on your part, it's very doable. So I have the yin and the yang within my work, I feel.
Well, that's great, because it's something that we do need to remind ourselves of like looking at the kind of taking the black pill. Like I've more recently been hearing it be referred to taking the black pill and kind of making it into the gold pill, where you're being brave, showing courage, right, in the face of fear, acting in the face of fear, doing right when met with a very I don't know, I guess like a very, very tense, very, poor looking situation where you're going to do the right thing regardless of how of maybe even what like you could get out of it if you did the easy way,
Right.
you're still going to stand up and do the right thing no matter what, and like that's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we can talk about uh certain specific topics where it's like, well, what's right about that? What's right about this and that, whatever. But there are definite truths, to be discovered within the universe, and one
Mhm.
of those, one of those is about our connection to it, spiritual connection to the universe. Say hello to my wife back there, and she's
Hey, it's cool.
she's
It's real.
awesome.
But it's real. It's real life stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Things are
Oh
going
yeah.
on. And so yeah.
So back to that, the point was is that we do have a spiritual connection to nature, to the universe, and it's part of the way out of turning that black pill into the gold pill, and being able to take that gold pill is learning how to see in yourself that spirit and growing, and cultivating that. I chose that graphic for the thumbnail of the building, man-made structure being overtaken by nature after it seems to have been abandoned, and how powerful nature really is. It's a force to be reckoned with for sure. We all know that, but it's not going to stop. It's going to take back what it's going to take it back. Things are going to return to nature. So the idea is that we ought to start living with nature instead of trying to live against it.
Yep.
What do you think about that? Your take on that, Jonathan?
So, well, it's funny that you bring that up because that's actually kind of where I've been going in my, just in my behavior, more and more recently. Trying to figure out solutions and trying to figure out what can I do? How do I, again, because there is going to be a new world in which we will be living, and the only way that's going to come about is for us to do it, to make it. And so my thought, and again, this is something that's been kind of, I guess, just being in this world, meeting different people through the class from last year and staying in touch with people and meeting you and etc. And just different things people post and whatnot has just led me to, in the past few months, find out really about food forests and how to grow one, propagate one, and where it should be. And in the idea of everywhere that there's a park or a place where we pay people to go drive a truck to and mow and blow and spray fertilizer, to grow, to mow and to blow, and so we could be paying these people to be tending food, nut trees and fruit trees, and should be in all of these programs. And obviously then comes the whole thing with all the city councils would say, oh, well, we can't, that's liability. And that's just that jargon crap. It's just like, dude, just plant the trees and eat them if you're hungry. It's just that simple as far as I'm concerned. But narrowing it down again back into, well, since I couldn't change my city, and I couldn't change my family, I decided to change myself. So I am going to, with what land I have been afforded through circumstance, turn it into a food forest. And it affords me to be out in my yard. I've been getting up earlier and earlier. I guess maybe just, again, getting synced up with the universe and synced up with what I'm actually doing and what I'm supposed to be doing. And so anyway, I'm waking up earlier with the sun and kind of going outside and hanging out in the yard while it's quiet and peaceful. And I water the yard early in the morning, so it's kind of like still wet, and I just hang out. And I've been envisioning this forest, and this has really just been the past few weeks. And I've got a company now who I have ordered a plan. They look at my yard, they look at my layout, my house, and they basically put together a plan based on where I'm at in the country, geographically, what the native species are, and they build me a food forest on paper that they can either come help me do, or I can do myself, depending on what skill level I am at. And obviously I'll be able to do it myself. It's going to take a while, but that is absolutely, there is no closer than connecting with nature. I mean, I go out barefoot every day and I dig in the ground and I envision what I'm going to create, and anything I'm taking down or removing, like the grass and the ornamentals and the stuff my grandparents had at this place, it's going to all be rebuilt with aesthetics in mind, but as well as environment. So there's going to be 50 to 100 species planted back there that all will put different things back into the soil and help one another grow based on where they're at. So I'm not out there replacing soil and adding stuff and having to fertilize and do all this stuff. There will be a small amount of that, but mostly the way a food forest is designed is so that there's tons of different things. Almost everything is edible or a plant medicine or something of that nature, and it all grows in harmony and synergy with one another. And again, that science is a little past my pay grade at this moment, but I know of people, and I am part of their team, if you will, who do know this stuff and have spent their lives figuring this stuff out. And so they're going to get back to me with a plan. And in the meantime, I'm removing stuff and digging in the ground every day and just getting sun and getting my feet in wet dirt every single day and grounding and talking to God and talking to myself and really just growing spiritually, truly every single day, and connecting with nature and finding the fundamentals of natural law in actually being in nature, you know?
That's required, like getting out there and doing doing those, it's like a ritual, you get out there and you do the grounding and everything. It brings us, like, so the point I was making before about, working with nature instead of against it, like, well, how are you going to learn to do that if you're not actually going out and experiencing nature?
Yep.
It's a very important point. It's a very important part of the process of spiritual growth.
It
I
sure
mean,
is.
we are of nature, where we come from it.
Mhm.
So as far as we know, I mean,
Yep.
there's another rabbit hole to go down, but as far as we really know at this time, we are of nature. That's where we come from. So that's where we got to get back to in order
Yeah.
to learn how to have like the self-care. It's like a hard day's work makes you really respect yourself. It can really help with that process of self-respect and
Yep.
self-love.
And
where
depression.
yeah,
Oh my
right,
God, dude. There was times
exactly.
where there was times where I actually went, okay, depression's a real thing. You know what I mean? Like, cause I always thought it was hocus pocus, made up people just crying about whatever, dude. I have depression. And I experienced it a few times, especially being addicted to a depressant, go figure. But like, and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from, because I wasn't really drinking excessively at that point, but I was being a lazy sloth laying on a couch and watching and just wondering why is this not, this is kind of like living the dream, man. I'm doing nothing. And it's like, that's a fake dream you're living there. So when I'd go out and you really, man, I had to dig a ditch that was almost 4 feet deep from my garage to my house at one point. And it was just like the amount of energy, and that's the thing. When I really need to, I can bust ass. And even when I was a lazy sack back in the day, when it was like have to, it's like, all right. And then you just do it. And I felt so good. I was like, wow, that was crazy. All the bad went away, in a seriously good, hard day's work. Which was that's what that was. But yeah, it connects you again back to the earth. I was digging a ditch, working in the ground, and working hard. Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, it's required. That's
required.
what, the hard work there, that physical labor, it's required. It just is. I can relate to that, like, having to chop wood and stuff like that, going to camp when I was a kid, and I was always bouncing off the walls, and they say, hey, here, have a split and maul and go and chop all that wood over there and make it fit for the fire, and it was also in the wintertime, the wood stove up at that camp, it kept the house warm. So it was like that hard work, actually, being outside, chopping the wood, and then seeing the payoff of, well, now the house gets to stay warm, and it's like, okay, you did something. So like your comment of depression made me think of these things where, you know, a lot of it comes from boredom, where you're not participating or not doing anything. You know, it's like everything's like fast tracked these days. It's like you
Yeah.
don't have to, you know, do much. It's the lazy bones mentality where you know, you don't want to take any action. It's like you said earlier, it takes action, and not enough people actually fucking realize that. And
Yeah.
they just want to be lazy pieces of shit and not do anything with their fucking lives. I'm gonna cuss a little bit, but
Yeah,
like,
it
but
stirs up
like,
some emotion.
right. But like, the thing that people just refuse to accept is that to actually manifest change, it takes fucking action. You can't just go, oh, I'm gonna think about this thing, and then it's just gonna, no, it takes action, people. It fucking nothing's gonna happen for you, you know? Like, no, like it it's like no one's coming to save you,
Yep.
right? Like, you know, we were talking about this, but in the pre-show,
Mm-hmm.
like, I wanted to make this point tonight about why is it like, why are we even talking about this? What is so important about this? Well, it's like, well, if we're going to, you know, circumvent the control structure, if we're going to get around all of this, right? If we're going to do away with it, well, what is it going to take? It's going to take some serious fucking work, and you got to have some self-respect to do it, because no one's going to come and save you. You got to save yourself. And learning the principles of natural law, learning objective morality, what it really fucking means, is the way out. It says it right on my shirt, you know, natural law is the remedy. It's the way out. And
Yep.
it takes hard work.
Yep.
And there is a spiritual side to all of this, you know? So I just wanted to make sure I got that in,
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
and it's like, it's a shame when I see people all the time. I talk to people all the time about this stuff, and in my real life, in my community and stuff, like at work, everywhere I go, if I can find a way to talk about this, I just work it into the conversation somehow. And
Yeah.
it's always
Absolutely.
just like, oh, well, you know, that's just, you know, never going to happen. It's always the same shit. You know, oh, well, that's utopia and this is never going to happen. Like, let me know how that works out. Just, I don't get into fights anymore over chat rooms and stuff like that, but I used to, because I was just like,
Well, you know what
hey,
I've
Fred.
seen is, yeah, you can't convince people of things. You have to let them see it. But again,
Yeah.
one of the best ways to teach is by example. And one of the like, I guess one of the ways you can philosophically explain it to people is the ultimate goal of natural law is freedom, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the easiest ways to then transmit that philosophy, that speech, that rhetoric into some sort of action that's viable and something that people can do that doesn't have any politics tied to it, again, is growing food, because food is a freedom solution. Like, we are tied to food, period. Like, it's on the top 3, you know, of things that are absolutely necessary for survival. So and they know that, whoever they is, however you want to make that in your reality, but there's a they, and they know that, and so they use that. And those of us that are aware of that are, oh my goodness, wow, yeah. So I'm late to the game by far, but there are people with these food forests and other things that, you know, I mean, they make money. They go to farmers markets. I mean, that's their job now. I've seen a picture of a house that's in LA on 1/10 of an acre, and he produces 7,000 pounds of organic food a year. I mean, he makes like 20 grand, and his family they eat everything. I think they said they grow like 92% of what they eat, and the other 8% they trade, and they make 20 grand a year in this little tiny lot of land in LA. It's crazy. So it's freedom. It frees you from the idea that, well, what if the store doesn't have food? And that, not that that's the only way, but that's a really big and simple way, and that everyone can do. You can just start, even if it's just something as simple as starting a garden. But looking into the idea of permaculture, and you look into one of the channels that I've found is called Food Forest Abundance, and this guy goes into some ancient, not quite Tartarian stuff, but similar in concept, that like the rainforests were designed. Like that wasn't an accident. That was man making food forests back in the day, and they went and it took off and it did its thing. So, and they have a lot of reasons for this and different stuff that you can get into as far as researching that specific topic. But we can turn all of this into just more than any of us could ever imagine. And then there is no lack in that regard. And that opens up freedom to, oh, I'm not worried about food anymore, you know? And that's just one thing, but man, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's a good point to raise, because a part of the a part of them, the way that they get us to get rooted into a satanic mindset of the gimme mindset, materialistic, and all of this stuff, is by creating scarcity issues, right? It's
False
like
scarcity, usually.
you know, it's like a way out, like growing your own food, especially like that's an important point to make today, because it's an important point to make because they're even talking about food shortages right now. And thank you, Fred. Fred said scarcity to abundance mindset. So we got to change the way that we view things from scarcity to abundance, because, well, it's a mental transmutation in itself.
Yep.
So what I was trying to say was that, like, they are already trying to warn us. They're planting that they're not planting vegetables. They're planting fear.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling us there's going to be food shortages. Do you know how fucking rough things are going to get around here if people can't eat? They're going to be killing each other. I'm surprised it didn't happen with the baby formula shortages, you know, but that was also in my area, some of the groups that my wife is a part of, and sort of like reporting to me what was going on in these chat room groups on social media. It was actually kind of uplifting to see communities pulling together with real solution, like suggestions, and even wet nurses up in my area, like offering up their excess breast milk for it was actually kind of uplifting, to be honest. Now that's really, you know, it's different over here. I don't know if it's like that everywhere, but something tells me that it's not, and that people are going to be like very, very angry when their food runs out. You know, it's
I know I've mentioned it to just a few people that come to do work in my yard for whatever reason. And well, I had a couple of big trees removed, and I had those guys here for like 5-6 hours. And so, man, I got them all sorts of, I gave them my card. I got them onto my website. Like I was telling them about all sorts of crazy stuff as far as they were concerned. And they were just like, wow. But I was out there working with them. So, you know, they had a lot of respect for me in that regard, because I was out there doing their tree removal with them and explaining to them why they were doing this. And they were just like, wow, this is crazy. They're like, you should be out in the country. And I'm like, well, maybe, but this is what I've been given. So this is what I'm doing with it. And they're just like, wow, yeah, that's really cool. So I said, yeah, and you'll have to come back and check on it, because it's going to be 5 years before it's the magazine worthy yard that I'm aiming for. But it's going to be something that people are going to want to look at and walk through. And because dude, I've got a lot of space here, and it's on a golf course. And so but I'm tucked away a little bit so that it's not like real visible, like, hey, sticking out like a sore thumb. There's nothing in my HOA that says I can't grow food, which I wouldn't really care about anyway. I mean, I'd really make them come tell me to take it down. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at. That's just who I am. And it's like, I don't care. I've talked to all my neighbors about it. They're all super excited and stoked about it. So I'm like, I don't see any issues. I'm just going full steam. And in 10 years, dude, the golf course is going to have to deal with apple trees and peach trees and berry bushes and all sorts of stuff, because that's just how it'll be.
Well, let them deal with it. You know,
Yeah,
you're looking to take care of yourself and share with others if need be, and like setting up an actual plan for the future. And you're taking responsibility for yourself, you know, it's like,
and others too, because there's going to be so many people that don't have anything that I will have
those
hopefully in abundance to.
Those people are responsible for themselves. You know, they have to be able to learn how to not do any harm, you know, in order to, you know, be a part of a truly moral society, where it's like, that's what it's going to take in the long run, to be able to come out of this. And it's probably not going to happen in our lifetimes, but like, that's just it's the truth now. It's going to be the truth then, It's always been the, you know what I mean? It's always been the truth. It's like the moral aspect of, like, the moral decline of society has led to this cultural decay that we're all suffering from. And it's the way out is from moral, objective morality. And it's up to people to take responsibility upon themselves to stop acting like shitbags and to learn these principles and to live according to them. It's a weird thing to have to be saying, about this topic, because, being an anarchist, you don't really want to tell people what to do. It's not my style, but it's like, well, but there's a control structure trying to tell everybody what to do. And if we
People
don't
aren't
want,
listening.
if we want to be free, there are still rules,
Mhm.
So as long as you're not, it's like, fuck around and find out, come over here and try it. Like,
Yep.
you don't want to, because
Yep.
I will defend myself. So trying to stop from rambling too much. I think that, being responsible for others is a very, like, nice altruistic thing, but people need to, like, kind of, I think it takes a little bit of evidence on their part that they're deserving of the care. I mean,
Sure.
you should care regardless, but you don't want to be given, you don't want to let some scumbag take advantage of you.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know that even saying take responsibility for them is the right. I mean, that's not so much where I would be seeing it as in just living by example. It's like, look, dude, I've got so much. Yes, you can for sure have some. Like, I would hope you're not an idiot and just think that I'm always going to be here to give you some. And instead, you
Hmm.
look at what I have and ask me how I did it. And I will be happy to help you reproduce that same thing with whatever it is you've got. And that's where I'm going with it. That's what I want to do. Because eventually I'm not a sit still type. I can't just stay here forever. But at the same time, I'm going to have this. So I don't know. I just, that's big. I don't know what to do. But I also have an RV, so I'm going to hit the road. So when I've built this place up and I've taught myself about it to the point where I can at least go speak it and understand why these plants and why these different things. Because I consider myself a hobby horticulturalist. Like, I mean, I definitely grew weed back when it was illegal, and boy, I was all about it then, and I thought I was just a badass. And I did. I mean, I grew some good herb, and I mean, that was where you just sit there and realize, man, they lied to me. They told me money doesn't grow on trees, and it sure does. And so I was, I taught myself quite a bit about things back then because I was I was inspired. And now I have a whole new reason for inspiration, and it's a much deeper. It's not one plant or one variety of thing. It's how does all of this work in symbiosis with one another, and that way I don't have to go out and make sure every little detail. Most of these people with these forests that they've built, even small scale, big scale, whatever, the main thing to do is harvest it and cut it back, because all it wants to do is grow so thick and so abundantly that you wouldn't be able to get in to deal with it. So it's again, it's just changing how we think, abundance versus scarcity, and then changing how we actually, behave. Like our actions shouldn't be so much on the consumer side; they should be on the producer side. And that's just kind of my boiled down simplistic version of how I'm trying to adjust my life, be less of a consumer and more of a producer.
Yeah, I agree. You should be focused more on producing than consuming. I think it's that mindset that kind of got us there, the
Mhm.
consumer mindset, and it's like we've been given that. They've been giving us that mindset for generations
Mhm.
now, and it's tough to break free from that, in my opinion. Where it's all this, training that's like heavily ingrained into like families and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I have, I have trouble with that kind of thing where I need the new thing. Ooh, it's fun, it's like, but you got to pull back on that a little bit. Something else I wanted to kind of bring up with this conversation of like spiritual growth is like, I really want to draw attention to the pacifist crowd of people that think that spiritual growth is all about pacifism and just just being submitting to everything and just sitting back and accepting and all of this new age bullshit that
Yeah, being
that
a
is
pussy.
yeah
Yeah.
for lack of better words,
Mhm.
that is actually in fact creating more slavery. So the important point to make, I think, Jonathan, that I wanted to talk with you more about was like is self-defense and how important that really is, and how lately, and for a long time, actually, now not lately, for a long time, we've been in this kind of spiritual battle like this, and it's just no one is defending their spirit, their soul, and do you have any points that to make about uh what it takes to defend your spirit?
Wow. Yeah, that's, I mean, on a different kind of goes to a different place, I think, in, metaphysically almost, for defending your spirit. I think that has a lot to do with your mental control. Because there's no way to prove, right, that when you pray for protection or something like that, but I think there's no other way to look at it, that if you're focused and your intent and your attention is on something, that's happening. So I think a big part is realizing that there is a parasitic dark wolf, whatever, the other half, the part of the yang, the demon, the Satan that lives inside of us, the devil on this shoulder, whatever you want to call it, but the parasite that probably actually is what the voice is, and our natural intuition is what our natural voice is. So feeling the earth, feeling nature is probably most likely our real natural voice, and it's been blasted by constant chatter from the parasite that wants us to get for us. And then as we learn and experience natural law and grow and understand, we learn to push that down and accept that no, it's not just all about me. Except, but that voice, if let run just unchecked, look at what is happening in society. I mean, it's all about me. And so protecting your spirit is going to be realizing that that parasite is there, and it's not you, it's a separate thing. So however you want to rationalize that in your world, or whatever you want to call that, we all have that thing on us, and it's very hard to get rid of, and it's a constant battle. And it's I think when you have emotions or things that you would maybe justify your, oh well, I can do this because of this thing or whatever, that's that parasite talking to you, and your ego, your parasite and your ego, whatever, that's kind of the same thing. Not that ego is entirely bad, but that's where the damage to your spirit can come from, because it's, again, it's almost like it's almost like a sexual thing. It's on such a level where you just get going with it, and something new and weird gets presented in the midst of it, and you're like, oh well, we're already doing this thing, so here we go with it. And it's the ego. And so the best way to do it is to, again, remind yourself that's not I. And to me, what I do is I say out loud, or in my mind out loud, you're not, I'm giving nothing authority or permission to affect my thoughts and my actions in this regard. And
Mhm.
when that becomes your new mantra, you can find a lot of, when you get welled up with rage and whatever, no, you're not allowed to make me feel a certain way. And I've found that when you do that, like, it doesn't mean that the thing that pissed you off has changed, and it also doesn't mean that you can't sit there and go through mentally what pissed you. You don't have to carry that anger in there with you. And that's, I think, what the parasite energy or the false ego, the me aspect is, because it feels better to get angry and go beat that guy down or whatever. Um, Whereas a more calm, collected version of that would just not involve violence. And that's one example, but you kind of get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I was
Cool.
trying to I was trying to see if we could get at like I wanted to pretty much just like
Talk about
call
something totally different.
no, it's all good. Like I think that there is some good information in there, but
Sure.
I kind of wanted to get at these these pacifists that like are just
Oh,
making things worse, making things so much worse for the rest of us. And they're literally while doing so much harm to the spirit, like to like any sort of spirituality teachings and ideas of what spirituality is. They're doing a lot of harm to that and misleading people into thinking that it's about pacifism and all this, when it's like no. Real spirituality is showing self-love and self-respect, and when it's when your spirit is being threatened, showing some fucking teeth, standing up for yourself.
That's right. Self-empowerment.
We have Fred in the chat. He mentioned it's very simple: learn to say no. I agree with that sentiment there. That's the most powerful word in language is no, and that dissolves, saying the word no, it dissolves any it dissolves any consent. And when you're saying no, nope, I don't give consent to this. And that's what we're really built off of is consent, voluntarism. If you're not giving consent to something, well, then if you're on the receiving end of something that you haven't given consent to, well, most likely that's something wrong is going on, and it's all about right and wrong and knowing the differences between the courses of action, that lead to a right or a wrong being committed. It's so like I just wanted to like make sure we got it out there on record tonight, with this idea of spiritual growth, that it takes teeth. It takes showing teeth.
Yeah, and it's okay to kick some ass once in a while if
Yeah,
necessary.
you
Yeah,
got to defend
absolutely.
yourself. If you got to defend yourself, you got to like your physical body is the vessel for your spirit. So when you're under physical attack, that's also correlated, or not correlated, but it's connected to a spiritual attack as well, and vice versa. So when you're under duress or being coerced into doing something that's against your will, then you owe it to yourself, if you love yourself and respect yourself at all, to stand up and say no, show some teeth if you have to, and defend yourself if you must. And and it takes defense, not if you must, but it takes self-defense in order to actually manifest real change. So I get real fucking angry about pacifism and everything like that, where it's like, yes, there's a certain point where you do need to learn how to calm yourself down and not go over the edge, over making a mountain out of a molehill. But that can also get out of control too. Where
I
like,
look at it in more of a martial artist kind of a way, like just
yeah,
when shit's about to hit the fan, dude, you don't just get all Tasmanian devil. I mean, that might be that might be a strategy, and that's not to say that won't work. Maybe most of the
it's
time,
a pretty good strategy when you're under
depends,
attack.
if you're a badass, if you're a little, depends on your build and everything else. But if you're a total little bullet, then yeah, dude, I've seen Tasmanian devils before, and they are hard to deal with when they go apeshit. So it just depends on your strategy. But there's definitely a you need to, okay, if we're all in a hero's journey, which we ultimately are, once you start becoming that hero, like just imagine all the shit we watch on TV. It's never the Superman and Spider-Man aren't watching TV. They're out jumping off roofs and shit and going, and it's all, they always give us the fun part at the beginning where they're all terrified of it and like, oh, what do I do? And they fucking fight through it, and next thing you know, he's swinging off building to building, right, and kicking the shit out of 9 dudes at once. But he's never sitting at home watching TV as Spider-Man. Like, that doesn't work. If you're in it to win it and be the hero, which anybody really watching this is. So it's not to be, oh, well, that's okay. I mean, and even if, there's a Gandhi aspect that can still be Rambo. You know what I mean? So you don't have to be, I guess it doesn't have to look a certain way for it to be fighting back. And vice versa. It doesn't, you can be cowarding out by doing something that seems like fighting. So you actually have to be doing what's right. and you actually have to be sometimes going against what seems comfortable, because you're going to have to say some stuff to a bunch of people that maybe, you know, are going to look at you weird when you say it, but that's part of it. That's how it goes.
Yeah, being right isn't easy, you know,
No.
and that's
And
a part that's something that needs to be said too, is that, you know, doing the right thing isn't always easy,
it's
but it's
not,
the
it
right thing to
rarely
do.
is. Yeah, it
It's a,
rarely is.
it makes all the difference when a person's willing to step up and not do the easy thing and do the right thing instead. You know, doing the easy way is how we got in this fucking mess. You know, it's how we got here.
Yep.
It's not how we're gonna get out.
No.
You
Nope.
want change, you got to change. You know, like we know
Be
the
that
definition
change,
of
that's right.
insanity. Like Einstein gave that definition of insanity of doing the same. I think it can be attributed to Einstein if I'm not mistaken. But doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. You can't just expect. If easy got us here, easy's not going to be the way out.
No.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. You got to fucking, you know, you got to do it. You got to get it done.
Yep.
Do the right thing.
Yeah, it's that cycle of society that it's like hard times create strong men, and strong men create good times, and good times create weak men. There's more to it than that, but
And
ultimately that's it. And then
weak men create hard times.
weak men create hard times. That's right. And
Yeah.
then it all starts back over again.
Yep.
And we're at the, you know, like my grandparents' generation was the hard men creating badass shit. You know what I mean? And then my parents' generation, the baby boomers, got to live off of that. And man, did they drop the ball. You know, and I know everybody hates the baby boomers and whatnot, but as a group, they dropped the ball. You know, there's individuals, but whatever. And then now I'm in Gen X, and I feel like, you know, we didn't do much better, but at least I can say for myself, I'm awake and I'm actively going, oh my God, hitting the brakes and trying to do every bit of I can to like, okay, let's, you know, we're heading towards the sun and there's nukes trailing us. Like we aren't probably going to make it, but let's try. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of, that's how I see it.
Yeah, it's tough being.
It does look really bad, and especially if you really start getting into like even just my channel, and let alone everybody else's, and seeing all the, oh my God, it's like, dude, and it's over for us. But if you have that attitude, it is. But I never have that attitude, even when it looks really bad. I mean, if nothing else that Hollywood has done for us, it's taught us that even at the worst moment, dude, you have to believe he's coming back to win, because he always does. And so, I mean, I don't know, maybe they messed up by letting us have movies like that, because
they
consciously it just teaches us that even if I'm getting destroyed, I'm still gonna win.
See, the problem with the movies is like there's we can get into that for a few minutes here. Like the problem with the movies is that it is used to kind of inculcate these ideas into you about what it takes to be a hero, and they're always working with law enforcement. They're always saving the day, and then right when they do, they land in front of an American flag, and that's a psychological technique called anchoring, where like, oh, your subconscious relates saving the day with America, and oh, it's going to be great. Being an American is so great. It's the greatest country ever. We're going to work with the cops and we're going to do it for the government. Yay. Like that's what these movies do to people.
They do.
I don't really enjoy giving credit. Like if that's how you relate to it, that's fine. Like, but the truth of the matter is that it's mind control what they're doing in those movies, like right down to it. And it's not a good it's not a good thing, you know. It's
for the masses, I'll agree. Yeah, for the masses,
there's certain, you know, you can see through it. I can, I know that and many others can as well. But most it's really just something that I can't just gloss over and not bring up.
Sure. Oh yeah, Hollywood is just a cesspit of evil, and very I mean, there might be some like benevolent thought process in some of the movies as far as teaching us stuff and showing us things, but yeah,
well, it's usually the movies that get terrible reviews that are actually any good,
right?
You know?
Sure.
And the ones that are being pumped out, right, like these Avengers movies and stuff like that, which, by the way, full disclosure, I have seen them. I do enjoy comic books from when I was a child, Spider-Man in particular, the Hulk as well,
right?
You know, but like, so yeah, of course, like I want to see what it looks like, and for a dude, like what it could look like, you know. and a quote real, real life kind of CGI bullshit. But I have watched all those movies and everything, but not everybody sees them the way that I've been able to kind of come to terms with, that it's just mind control techniques.
Yep.
These are the movies that are making billions of dollars at the box offices and everything. So that billions of people over the around the world are watching these movies, and little kids especially, right? So here's the other part of it, the mind control part of these movies about being your own hero. Well, that's training people to not be their own heroes by abdicating that responsibility onto some outside entity that's going to come and swoop in and save the day for them, so they don't have to be responsible for themselves, because there's always going to be somebody there that's going to come and save them for them. Somebody like Spider-Man, or Spider-Man always works with the cops, or Captain America, well, not for the most part, works with the cops and the military and all this stuff. Like, oh, these heroes are so great. Look at and then they work with the government. The government must be so great too. Mm-hmm. The government's going to be, since the heroes work with the government's going to be the one to come and save me. They're the heroes. Like, it's training people to hate themselves, to have a defeatist mentality.
Yeah, on some level, for sure.
On some level, I'd argue that it's purposefully like to do that.
Oh, right. But I'm just saying, just to different levels of consciousness. That's like I said, that's not going to affect me that way. And when you're young, though, for sure it does. For sure, it's and so it is an intended thing in that regard. Yeah.
And that's probably that's a really strong point to be made. I'm glad that we got there in this conversation. It kind of full circled, came back around to like the idea that no one's coming to save you. You have to save yourself. Mm-hmm. You have to learn how to use these tools that nature has given you as a sentient being, as a being with higher cognitive functions, higher consciousness. You have to learn how to use these tools that you have in order to save yourself. Mm-hmm. And then you can possibly help other people too, to learn how to use those tools for themselves, not so you can be a leader or be the next person in charge, because that's antithetical to the whole point. You want to be able to help raise people. It's just such a kind of fruitless endeavor, it feels like from time to time, but that's the mission. And we got to be able to do that, so we can get out of this mess.
Yeah. Hey, so give me like 2 minutes, because my energy drink is like, I have to go and get rid of some of it, but I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Okay.
Okay. And, all right. So it's just me for a minute, and I'll bring Jonathan back on and when we can. So let's see. We got Fred. Gingras. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. You're killing it in the chat tonight, dude. First time I've seen you in any of these chats. Thank you very much for being here. I see you're watching on Facebook. You made a good point with do no harm and take no shit. That's it right there. The sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, the sacred feminine being do no harm, sacred masculine principle of take no shit. It's all about non-aggression and self-defense, committing to not aggressing upon another person's or sentient being's natural rights, while also recognizing that, knowing your rights, and that when somebody is coming to tread on your rights, that you stand up for yourself and say no, that you're not going to take this shit. You show those teeth, you whip out the claws, and you do what you got to do to make sure that you are known as a person who will not be trampled on. It's key. It's part of the way out, so to speak, to be able to stand up and say no, and so, and here he is again, Fred, saying truth is always simple, not easy though. No, it's not, and we're not meant to be it's not meant to be easy. It really isn't. It's meant to occupy time. It's meant to occupy our effort to live through this experience called life. It's supposed to be here to challenge us, and to test our will, to be able to test our will and to see just how long can we keep up doing the next right thing. And Jonathan's back. Hey.
Howdy. Thank you
right.
for that. Much better.
So we're gonna keep going, all right, but we're coming up to 10 o'clock here. So on the One Great Work Network, we're going at 10 o'clock Eastern. We're actually going to be switching. On the network is going to be Natural Freedom League. They're going to be airing. They're going to be airing a conversation that they had coming up shortly. So if you're finding value in this conversation and you want to hop on over into the chat and ask some questions, we're going to stick around for a little while longer after 10 o'clock and maybe answer some questions that you guys have. But we won't be on the network. We'll be over at freeyourmindne.com/live. If you're not watching it like where Fred is on Facebook. So if you're on the network, come on over to another platform that the show is available on, and we can continue filling up your attention. So, but in any case, what were we talking about? We were talking about movies. We were talking about cinema, mind control, and how it's a technique to get people to ultimately not have confidence in their ability to take care of themselves.
Yep.
And so do you, in your travels, do you reach out to people, or are you how do you reach people in your personal life? Are you struggling with that at all?
So man, so for a lot of years, it was kind of difficult trying to reach out and just discuss this with people, anything, as far as just learning about the New World Order or whatever, and trying to wake up. I didn't know about natural law yet, but just trying to talk to people, and man, people don't want to hear stuff, and people don't want to wake up. And so, and now, as I've, just kind of gone through 20 years of being this way, people kind of know who I am and that's how I am. And now that I've been able to figure out a little bit of technical prowess so that I can put some of this stuff out in a more appropriate format for people to watch whenever they want, versus me just sitting there and going at them. It's worked out pretty well. I basically just have my list of email people, my personal people, and that's how I started, and it's built and grown from there. And so it's been good in that regard. I talk to people when I go out and about all the time. Usually somebody that is, I guess I do have a judgment scale somewhere in my mind of whether I think it's worth giving them this or not. But usually I'll just explain to them that we've been lied to about everything. Most people don't have a hard time going, yeah, I know. And I say, well, cool, then you'll like that website. And so that's kind of what I do now.
So do you feel like you're reaching people?
I do. I really do. As far as that goes, like in a quick sitting. Beyond that, whether people have the time and attention to spend listening to what I say, I think I've got a pretty clear and concise boil down on a lot of stuff that I put out. But as far as reaching masses of people, I got my website, and then I talk to people when I'm out and about. So
good. What kind of, when you're out and about though, like what kind of how well received is the information? Because to me, like, it seems like that is like the critical thing to do, is like we can do this, reach far and wide as we possibly can using this technology. But I like to remind people about how important it is to, inject this into everyday conversations you have with people. Call people out on their bullshit when they're like, well, what you're, yeah, I do know what the fuck I'm talking about, bitch.
Yeah. And to have it in your own community as well, like the knowledge and the understanding, the awareness. Like, it's wonderful to have, say whatever, how many viewers, but if they're all scattered across everywhere, there's no power in that numbers, unless you've got a bunch of those same people from around your area, and understanding what's going on and why to do this. And, oh, okay, so now when shit hits the fan, we've got a little community here of people that know what the hell's going on. So that's why this has worked out really well, in a sense that I've been able to put all my stuff in one spot that's online. And now when I want to tell somebody, oh my God, there's so much and I just don't have a way to tell you all, I can just give them a card and say, hey, there's so much that you've been lied to about. And it doesn't matter what area of life you want to talk about, whether it's religion, science, politics, name it. You've been lied to about it. And you will find some truth within some of the videos I've made. And I put it say something like that. And 90% of the people that I, select and say, here's my card and talk to them about, just say that. I can tell they're going to go look at it. The other 10%, maybe whatever, but you can just tell. And then, because usually if they ask something back, then it's, they're going to go look, because then I get a chance to pick a topic and kind of narrow in on it a little bit, and they go, wow, so it's worked out well. I think I don't try to get into too lengthy of discussions when I'm out and about, mostly for the sake of I got shit I got to do.
Sure.
And where do you start? Oh my God, there's so much now. There's nowhere to start. So that's why it's nice that I have a place where I can go, you've been lied to about everything, right? And then they go, well, probably. Yeah, it's like they don't really want to. Don't ask me questions is really kind of the attitude. And it's like, just trust me. It was rhetorical. I know you have, and you do too. Here's a card. Go to this website. And then I got to give them a little spiel. Don't go to my YouTube because it's been censored. Go to Odyssey. There's all sorts of stuff there. And then they get that cock their head dog look. It's like Odyssey is just another YouTube. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Huh.
So.
Well, that's good, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're feeling positive about that.
I do. I have to, because otherwise it's just doom and gloom, and there's no reason. I mean, I can see doom and gloom. I don't want to feel doom and gloom. So again, that's all a choice.
Yeah.
Our attitude is a choice. Period.
I always just like to just kind of get up in people's face about it. Just go right for the jugular when it comes to it. Just just be like, call out the police and their bullshit, because a lot of people in my area, they're hardcore statists. They like and by that I mean maybe they have their disagreements with the government. They're not completely on board with it, but they think government should exist, and they like the police, and they think that the police are good people. And it's really tough, to keep a straight face when you're having a conversation. For me to keep a straight face, like when I'm having a conversation with a lot of people, because it usually starts out with me being like, yeah, these fucking police, they're fucked in the head.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, and then I know how that goes. That's kind of like going up to a bunch of Christians and being like, so that Jesus thing's a bunch of bullshit, huh?
yeah, that goes over pretty well.
Yeah,
it doesn't at all. But like they're usually like, oh, it's not as bad as you think, there's a reason, but they try to make excuses and stuff for all of it, and it's tough, but it usually gets their attention. And they usually get mad, and they want to confront you about it and be like, how can you say that? Like, who are you going to call when somebody breaks into your house? I'm like, I'm going to call Smith and Wesson.
Right. Dude,
like that's who I'm going to call. Like, who the fuck do you mean?
The problem now is that that it's such a fucked up system that now someone, like, if you took care of that problem for yourself, you would most likely end up in jail.
Yep. Hey,
I mean, dude, it's like, are you kidding me?
I've been informed that in just 1 minute, it's going to be switched over to Natural Freedom League. If you stick around on the network, enjoy that show. Will and John are fucking great. If you want to continue listening to this conversation, come over to freeyourmindne.com/live and jump in the chat. So that's the last time I'll make that announcement tonight.
Rock and or roll.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all good. So cool. Yeah. I don't really remember exactly what I was saying now, but yeah, I think I was done with that thought.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
No, it's good.
So something else I wanted to spend some time on was like, we talked about this. This was the whole entire subject of the conversation last time, but there were three of us. Joe was here with us and everything. But I wanted to kind of talk to you more one-on-one with you about alcoholism and drug abuse and how that stunts spiritual growth.
Mm.
We were talking more last time about anarchy and natural law and actually being like an anarchist. If like, we were applying the idea of alcoholism and drug abuse to anarchy and natural law, but like I kind of want to focus more on the spiritual side of it for a while, if you don't mind, and how it stunts, it can really stunt your spiritual growth.
Yeah, it definitely can and does. Again, I would probably just say more primarily because it makes you so selfish, and it really just brings you down to a base consciousness of survival. Like you end up just being a survivalist, and ultimately you're trying to get your drug, and then beyond that you're surviving, and that's just why you end up not, you become unkempt, and you just like your whole house, your house gets dirty, like you don't care about anything because you're just focused on this one thing, which is what makes you feel good, which is, again, you're just being selfish. So like the boiled down version of it, it's real simple. It's just selfishness is the ultimate root of all of any addiction.
So
And
do you
that's,
think
yeah.
so you want to focus more on the addiction aspect? I was hoping that you would, because I think that there is a benefit to some substances when it comes to, actually doing the opposite. I know I was talking about stunting the growth and everything, but I firmly advocate for certain substances that can be used for kind of slingshotting you, catapulting you into some sort of method of spiritual growth, like some entheogens, even cannabis. It can really help chip away that fluoride on your pineal gland. So
Mhm.
I mean, that's not what I for the listeners, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not talking about being a complete like straight edge. I'm just saying, about Jonathan and I share this in our past about alcoholism, and being, I'm just over a year sober now, and you have some time as well.
Mhm.
I can't remember off the top of my head how much, so I apologize, but it's,
That's okay. In October of this year, it will be 4 months, or sorry, 4 years. So
okay, sweet,
three and a half
good.
ish, somewhere
Well,
in there. Yeah.
congratulations, because
Thank you.
you know what? Congratulations is due, because it's seriously like alcohol just it takes a hold.
Consumes you. It
It,
consumes you.
yeah, it really does. I have a friend of mine right now, who I heard through the grapevine is really going through it really bad. Not going to talk much about his business, but my heart goes out to him right now, and it's somebody that I have I've tried to get through to before, and it's just like you're just talking to a brick wall, and I've
Mhm.
seen it happen over the course of like over a decade to this guy. A punk rock guy, it just wants to party and do whatever he wants, and it's having a fucking really really bad effect on his life. So, I don't know. After all of the talk about how the spiritual side of your existence needs to be explored and nurtured and everything like that, I really just wanted to like shed some light on, the real some of the things that you could be doing to yourself that are just like kneecapping any sort of spiritual growth, you know obviously being the topic of the evening. I can't
Yeah.
stop saying it. So, um, sorry.
So as far as what, yeah, well, I mean, and anything in moderation too. I think that's a real key because, like you said, as far as not trying to promote being a straight edge so much, I think that might be something that's okay after you've experienced some stuff, because I do believe we're here to live life, and I wouldn't trade any of my crazy shit that I've done and all. I mean, it was just, that's been my life, and like, yeah, there were some bad things I did, and I didn't murder anybody, and I didn't really hurt anybody physically, that I, maybe accidentally a couple of things here and there, but nothing. I was never really even maliciously intending to go out and get anybody. even though that happened a few times. But I wouldn't change any of it, even though it's not like I'm like proud of a lot of it. It made me who I am, and now I know better, and that's how I know better, because I know better. you know, um, so drugs can definitely be something that absolutely destroys you, but I think that everybody should experience some things, because anything can be used in moderation and can be used for benefit. Like you said, cannabis and entheogens, that's more of a, I think, an obvious tool. I think cocaine can be used at certain times for certain things that Freud talked about it a lot. Whether you want to agree with that or not, I don't know, but like there was
Freud
definitely,
talked about a lot of things a lot.
yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying there's that thing specifically. Like if you want to get this thing done or accomplished and you use this drug, that will help. It activates a certain part of your brain that isn't necessarily as active. And you become more of the car salesman. You know what I mean? Like you can do it. And um, whether that's to do it regularly, of course, it's a detriment. But
You don't think that you don't think that have you ever thought of it through like the lens of like, since we talked about being of nature, coming from it, as far as we know, that our spirit is our attachment to nature itself, that it could be looked at that way. I look at it that way. I'm gathering that you tend to look at it the same way. Yes.
yeah,
So could it then be kind of summed up that taking in unnatural substances like that, even cocaine, which has to be manufactured in order to get the high that you get from it, is just all in all just kind of something that we want to avoid? That should be like kind of something that we don't force people to do, but kind of try to raise awareness, like, hey,
well, sure, yeah,
like you're
it's
doing so much more damage than just the physical
yeah,
side of
sure.
it.
Sure, but like I said, again, it's not something you can't explain that to somebody if you've never done it. So
Right. Right.
there you
Right.
have it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
guess
it's
I see what you're saying there.
and it by itself should limit its own use, which it does eventually. It does eventually for everyone. It might kill
Yeah.
some people, you know. And again, that's just the way our society's set up. And if it wasn't as illegal and it wasn't as lucrative, it wouldn't be as pushed. It wouldn't be there wouldn't be a mystique around it. There wouldn't be a coolness to it. It wouldn't be a thing. It's because there's so many factors that go into it, but it by itself as a thing, no, is not that. I mean, the abuse of it and the adulteration of it, it's never cocaine that you're getting ever.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, beyond just, man, we could go on and on and on about all that, but like just trying it once or twice and knowing what it is and using it for what it's there for, no, isn't a bad thing. But just like with anything, and just same with alcohol. I'm not against alcohol. I'm against me using alcohol, and that's really kind of where it ends. I would now I have an opinion, and I would tell people what I think about it. But again, if you've got your shit under control, then it obviously you've got your shit under control, and you don't have a problem with that. Where I would be good is for somebody who does and is like, holy shit, how do I quit?
Yeah. And just like last time you were on and we talked some about drug abuse and everything. Like I still hold firm that like a lot of the drug abuse is what creates the dependency that leads to the state. It's like it's a major factor in it. This is why the drugs are put into certain communities,
Shipped
so
in, yeah.
shipped in and put into people's faces and given, even though it looks like it's illegal, it's the same people making it illegal that are putting it on the streets.
Yep.
So I mean, it's a way to control people, and there are do with your body what you choose, so long as you're not doing harm to another sentient being. It's fine. That's your property. You have every right to do what you want with your property. It's fine. Just don't hurt anybody or anything else. I would like to try to influence people to not hurt themselves, but at the end of the day, I can't force anything upon them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, I just see it as, I agree with you about how making them legal would take away the pizzazz around it. it would definitely take away the how, what did you refer to it as? The
Well,
kind of like the allure, the thing that's making it so attractive,
right.
So
And
uh,
but that's just one aspect of it too, the illegality of it. Like, I mean, it would have to be, I mean, you got to figure there's the cartels and that whole aspect. I mean, it's grown into something there's no fixing at this point. There's literally no fixing that thing without like, okay, like there's a huge break. Like, you know what I mean? Like something big happened. Like, because it's too deep, man. Like the whole Democrat Party just about is like in with the Mexican cartels, and it's like that's grown into something I don't think that we could even intelligently truly speak about, because I don't think that we have the intelligence to really know what that thing has become. Like, dude, trillions of dollars. Like they're in the game with the Rothschilds and shit, but they're just like they're the dudes in the back alley of the Rothschilds party. You know what I mean? They're like, we got all this money too, bro. So, and because they have a lot, and so just it's a huge deal. So yeah, ultimately the drug thing is terrible. And LSD, dude, LSD comes from the same place, and
yeah.
it can be used for the same kind of, well, it's different, but it can be used for absolute mind control.
Well, that's from what I understand, the origin of LSD was to try to control people's minds, like the MK Ultra experiments, Operation, like what, not operate Project Monarch, or Monarch Mind Control,
Mhm. And then
so
giving it out with the Warlocks. The Warlocks was the Grateful Dead before they were the Grateful Dead.
yeah.
And that was where they really first started, like, okay, we're going to do a public, we're going to spike the punch. And there was two shows. One show they didn't tell them that they spiked the punch, and one show they did tell them. And I think the first show they told them, and then the second show they were like, well, they knew. They're like, that's no good. And this was all like CIA stuff. And they're like, okay, this next one we're not telling them, and we're gonna see what happens. And yeah, that was their start of like, wow, we can just do this to people, because it didn't kill them, and they all came down. So they were like, all right, we can do this.
Yeah, it's artificial at the end of the day, but
Yeah.
it can be uh it
Empowering.
has its applications for sure. It doesn't exist in nature, but it does have its applications for sure.
LSD does. LSD does.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But I mean, psilocybin, more so. Things like psilocybin, ayahuasca. Those are more to the tune of nature provided it. Therefore,
Right.
you
Like, I
know,
mean, LSD is in mold, and it's with a ton of other things. So it
huh,
does occur in nature, but like it doesn't grow as a plant. God, how cool would it be to have an LSD plant? Oh my God, dude, how great. It just grows
uh,
these little tabs off of it. You're like, dude.
just eat a leaf.
Yeah, right. Fantastic. No, but yeah, there is much better entheogens that are more, hey, this is a mushroom and this is what this does. It doesn't need to go through a chemistry lab to get to you.
Yeah, it's much more. It's pure that
But
way.
my awakenings, a bunch of my awakenings, spiritual and self, came from LSD.
Yeah, me too. Hashtag me too.
Yep.
It's
And
a terrible joke.
some of the best experiences of my life. Things I mean, things that are like ingrained in my soul experientially. Things that I almost felt like when I was on acid and it was happening, it was like I have done this before almost, or like I knew this was happening, or it's just some sort of real poignant thing, and like, I don't know, craziness attached with that drug that I've had just really some really cool experiences with that, again, I would never trade in. But again, it doesn't have any, I don't really have any use for it now. I've been through that. So
Yeah, I like psilocybin mushrooms. To be honest, a lot better. It just feels better. That's just me.
sure.
It's my
Yeah.
preference. Sure. But yeah, that's the one that's really impacted my outlook.
Yeah.
And
Did you ever
helped
do
me.
any salvia? Have you ever smoked
Yeah.
salvia? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird time.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably about like 16 or 17, and it was like the 80 times, it said 80x or whatever
Yeah.
on the container.
Yep.
And I had actually, smoked it through a water bong, and it put me on my good thing I was sitting on my bed, because I was
Yeah.
just like sitting there going ha 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 for like a good just about 5 minutes, and then just snapped right out of it. And I was like seeing all sorts of shapes and stuff like that, like fractal type of shapes, and like looking through a kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
But it was like the kaleidoscope of my room. So it was
Yeah.
kind of
It is.
cool.
It's weird. Yeah, yeah. I never had the 80 or 20 or 10 or any X. That was all from the head shops. I heard about salvia. I don't remember. I think I was reading DMT magazine. There was actually a magazine called DMT magazine, and it was I can't remember who published it, but Terrence McKenna was high up in the ownership and whatever workings of it, and that was my first time hearing that name. This was how I kind of started finding out about it, and so this magazine would kind of explained a bunch of different things, and they mentioned all these plants, and I was like, dude, it was like a kid in a candy shop. Oh my god, finding out about all this stuff. So now I'm like, and the internet was brand new, so it was really hard to find shit, but if you knew what you were looking for, you could go find it. And I did, and I found a couple of places in Hawaii that would send kava kava, and they also had salvia and a few other things. So I'm like, sweet, dude. So I ordered all this stuff, and I just waiting and didn't tell anybody, didn't tell my girlfriend or anything else. And it's just like, and finally, I think I mentioned it to her. I ordered some things, and it showed up, and salvia, dude, just regular X salvia from this farm in Hawaii. And they sent it to me. I put it in a bong. I smoked it. I got 2 hits in. On that second hit, man, I set it down, and it just went poof, and I just was like, whoa. And I saw a woman and a dude standing in my wall. Like I was in an attic room, so it was like the walls were angled, and then like they were like 10 feet back into the wall, and she was in a business suit, like a woman's business suit, pantsuit with the and then the dude right next to her in a full-on suit, man, with briefcases and everything. Kind of blurry faces. I couldn't make out like their faces, but they were like full-on in business suit. And she looks at him and nudges him and goes, see, he's not ready to be here yet. And I went, oh yes, I am. I'm fine. And that's the last thing I remember. And I like lost my shit. And I was like in a computer chair, much like I am now. And my bed was on the floor, so no frame underneath it, just box spring and mattress, and then my comforter. And I was scooting around the edge of it, lifting up my comforter, going, I'm fine. See, I'm fine. I'm fine. And it took me about 10 minutes to realize I was doing that, because I was out of it, like you said, like giggling in no world, in a fractal world, except I was doing shit and running around and paranoid, but I didn't didn't realize it until I stopped doing it. And then I was like, it wore off real fast. And I went, oh, what the fuck is happening? And I went, hit fetal position. The right side went, hit fetal position. And the left side went, no, you pussy, you've given up if you do that. You sit here and take it. You smoke drugs, you deal with it. And I was like, okay. And after another minute, that all kind of started to calm down. And whew, that was rough, dude. And so, but I saw a her and a him, and they interacted and were like, he's not ready to be here. And I don't think I was. That's the only time I saw an entity of any sort on any drug, but I did, and that was pretty crazy.
So we have a comment in the Odyssey chat. It said from a person going by the moniker I a living man. And it says, hope to see some content talking about how a targeted individual can participate in the great work, even if he is tortured. Yes, talking about myself. Good job, guys. I would need a little bit more clarification about what exactly do you mean by tortured. To be honest, I would need to know if and I don't want to discredit you or take away from any sort of experience that you've had. Of course, I want to be sympathetic to that, but I would like to know just what you mean by tortured, and how and how that.
Yeah, are you referring to drugs? Are you referring to tortured by drugs?
Yeah,
that would kind of be my question.
Or like tied down and reeds put underneath your fingernails. Like what are we? It's a little vague.
Made to watch Fran Drescher for hours on end. I mean, that could be torture.
So I mean, so to just clarify, like we are here to help, and in order to help, we need good, clear, clear statements in order to actually help people that are asking questions like this. So it's a little vague for me to really try to give you good advice about that torture part. So,
One
but
thing I
I
would
can
say.
tell you
Oh, go ahead.
about and what exactly do you mean by targeted individual as well?
Yeah.
But I can tell you that um, participating in the great work just really at the end of the day means that you are using your free will to choose to do the right action over wrong action, learning the difference according to natural law and objective morality, learning the difference between right action and wrong action, and applying that knowledge into your everyday life. See, knowledge put into action is wisdom, and that's what you need to be able to have in order to do the great work. And it takes consciousness and a conscience, and to act upon your your knowledge of right and wrong action under objective morality, which means not what is right for you or me or Jonathan or whoever else, but what is right, objectively right, something that is right. And it's that way for everybody. Blanket statement, which some people have trouble hearing, and that's a fear that people need to get over. It's part of the ego that people need to get over, but you need to be able to do this in your real life. We're content creators for certain reasons, and there are ways that I do the great work in my real life, when knowing how to perform right action, knowing how to have courage in the face of fear and to act right no matter what. So that's another aspect of it. But creating content it comes after the real life part. I mean, this is real life. This isn't a simulation, what we're doing here. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying what my day-to-day interactions with the people around me in my community, I'm doing right by them, and to the best of my ability is speaking about it. So that's what I have to say. That's the start. That's where you start. You start by learning objective morality and then acting accordingly. So there.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And start with self, start with yourself. Cause again, I don't really understand targeted and tortured, what that specifically means, but work on yourself to heal yourself first. So with the intention in mind of doing the great work for others, and that being your intention will bring that result about.
Yeah.
It just does. Again, just like we are creative beings. We can create anything we want to. It's just how much are you willing to give of yourself to do that? And so if you really want to help others, you start by working on yourself and truly not being selfish about it. And but that's a bit of a tightrope right there, and just walking that how do I help others? But man, I can't help others if I've not got my own shit straight. So there's a bit of focusing on self and understanding how your thoughts, emotions, and actions need to line up so that you can actually be a good person, and that will actually be helping people, because you will be radiating a vibration of just, it feels better to be around you, if nothing else, and you'll attract the right people to you. And that is actually how you are doing the great work. Then you can get, to a point where you've been studying it and researching it and being able to reproduce it. Then you can start making, videos and whatnot, and really helping, putting something down that you wouldn't be afraid of looking at a year later and going, oh, did I actually say that? I mean, that's why I didn't start creating stuff. And I kind of did years ago. People pushed me into it, and they're like, you're funny. We should do a YouTube channel. And a couple of them were taken down right away. And it was, and the ones that were left up were like, I looked back over them and they were kind of funny, but man, just crude and lewd and just like, no, there was nothing, no substance to them. So I'm like, yeah, delete. I'm glad I didn't have but 3 videos to delete, where it's like, yeah, because if my old stuff had really gotten out there, it'd have been a bummer.
Hold on. We're having some connection issues on one of the streams.
Everything fine on Facebook. Well, it seems as though it's just me now for a moment. Perhaps I shall discuss a little bit about what it takes to realize that you were wrong, and how that is actually the beginning of getting through whatever really truly is ailing you. Realizing that I was wrong, and saying that out loud and saying it to the people that you were wrong to is the easiest and probably best way to set down a lot of the baggage that you might have. And it would allow you to really move forward in truth, because until you let go of the lies and actually admit that you were wrong, it's just going to eat you up and hold you back. And once you've admitted you were wrong, and to specific people, you go to each individual person and you tell them, hey, I was wrong. It allows you to be forgiven. I don't know what metaphysical and spiritual deed is being allowed to happen there, but the weight that gets lifted off you is fantastic, and it does so much for your soul, and it allows you to then move forward with your life. So I think just one of the initial aspects of growing and getting better and moving beyond where anyone for any reason, finding what your main problems are and admitting that you're wrong about them, and being willing to accept that and being willing to change is really the very next step. That's almost as important as accepting it and seeing it, and admitting you're wrong, being willing to change and moving forward with that change, and that will truly set you free. So I'm wondering, James, where are you at, my friend? I feel like I have been just put in charge, and I don't know what else. Maybe if he's coming back, or if I'm even potentially being seen. Let me know in the chat right here if I'm still on, or if I'm just talking like to my camera. Yes, I am. Okay, good. Cool. Well, then we'll keep going. And well, I don't know where James went, but anyway, I'll go ahead and keep going. I think I got something from him on Discord here. Let's see. My connection dropped. Fuck. That's what he said. So I'll just keep this going until he can maybe get back on. I'll just tell him real quick, get back on. All right. So until then, we will go with I guess more back into the drug aspect, and where that leads into the spiritual growth, and how quite literally I believe it makes you stronger to go through some shit. It's just like I said earlier, I wouldn't trade in any of the bad stuff I've done, and it's because of what I am now. The level of inner strength that I have is off the chart, and it came from, oh my God, torture. I tortured myself, and I made it through that, and that's the only thing I can look back and say, man, that's why I'm as strong as I am. And it, again, it's one of those, it's a double-edged sword. It's not like I wish on anybody to have a malady of addiction, but pushing that weight off your chest certainly does make you strong. And I'm just pure grateful for everything I've got and who and what I am. And I guess I'm apologetic, and I've tried to make amends for the things that I've done that I know were wrong, and the people that I could actually, like, hey, I'm sorry I did this, and I I want to get better, so I need to do something to and for you to help make amends for what I did, not just apologize. Like anybody can just, hey, I'm sorry, whoops. It's like, what can I physically do to make up for that? And a lot of people tell you, I don't want you to do anything. It's cool. I appreciate you. Some people do want you to do stuff, and that's really where it comes in, where you're really actually physically working off some of that bad stuff. And yeah, self-loathing. Let me see what that all says. Yeah, self-loathing is very hard to heal. Truly one of the hardest parts for me, but it happened relatively early in my sobriety, was being able to forgive myself. And there was a point where I was doing pretty good, and I had released a lot of my crap to a lot of people, and asked for forgiveness for a lot of people, and gotten myself straightened out. And then when it came to how I had treated my immediate family that I was with, that I lost because of my problems, and it just was something that was so hard to deal with. And you you at one point I was just wandering around crying, like, wow, I just really just hating myself, kind of. And yeah, absolutely, that was when I kind of started it. And so, as far as starting shadow work, you walk around, and I just had a voice inside me tell me, it's okay, dude, you've killed yourself long enough about this, like, let it go. And it was just a voice, it was like my own inner voice telling me that. But I absolutely let go of it at that point. And that's when you realize that there is a thing called shadow work, and you start to really dig in and go, oh, drinking wasn't really the problem at all. And the good people, my sponsor, he was a good sponsor. He told me, he tells you that the good ones will tell you, this drinking thing is really not the problem. And if you do this program properly, you'll find out that, yeah, that there's a lot more going on. And uh I did the AA program, and it's a bit culty, but there's good to it. And I did it. I did it properly, and I think most people don't. Most people stop with that 12 steps, and they go, "Oh, here I am. I just have some coffee, and we'll talk about this shit for the rest of our lives." It's fix the rest of yourself and move on. That's really what the program is about. Most people don't do that. And so, I found that with all the pain and the heavy and the weight from all the drugs, that makes you stronger. But those are just manifestations of the inner problem, which is where the shadow work comes from, which is what the shadow work is intended to heal. And it's when you figure out that shadow work is there, oh my God, then you can actually do it. And once you start doing it, you start weight, real tremendous weight starts being lifted off of you. And I recommend it for anybody. And truly, here is the thing. If you're just kind of out there like, well, how would I start? How do I get started? Even if you don't have an addiction, even if you don't have a major something weighting you down where your life is unmanageable, I recommend to people to start. If you want to heal anything, think of the person that, maybe not hate, that might not be the right word, but for the sake of my argument here, think of somebody that you hate and that did you wrong, and maybe even that you did wrong, and call them and make it better. If you can, do it in person. Like, go to that person and make it better. Like, ultimately what you're doing, and again, I don't know, I take it to a level of the creator, right? That's where I go a lot of times with my conversation. So I'm talking about making things better with another person for the sake of making things better with the creator. Like there's never it's especially over something stupid, especially if you did it. It's not something that you want to just let go. You want to focus on it, you want to solve it, you want to get through it. About the AA, is that what that the YouTube thing that you dropped in there is, maybe? But yeah, absolutely. I used the AA program, and then I went beyond it. And that's not to say that I don't absolutely still want to help people get better. And I understand that's why a lot of people still go to the AA meetings, is so they can find people that need help. But I just, like with anything, man, it's all moderation. A lot of the people that I saw in the meetings that I went to were desperate still. And it's like, well, this hasn't worked for you then, because I was in there and I knew when I was better, and I was better. And I was going there to those meetings mostly for my sponsor. And there was benefit to it, but I think a lot of people trade in the idea of getting high for the high that you get from sharing with people truth and wisdom. Kind of like what I'm doing right now. It's a high to share with people things that you've learned and come to understand and come to know to be true. But that doesn't mean, I mean, to just literally move from one thing to another and be like, well, here I am now, and this is what I do. And that's you've just traded one addiction for another. And although it's much healthier, it's still, you're not getting to the core of the problem, which is ultimately is a selfishness of some sort. And when that can be exposed and that can be brought out, that takes me back to what I was saying earlier in the conversation with James, where we were talking about, and I was bringing up the parasite and that other entity that's within us all, that talks to us and tries to get us to do shit. And so yeah, that's one of the things I would love to help. I would love to help more alcoholics that really were where I was and get to where I'm at now, because it's night and day. And so if anybody, you can find all my stuff. I'm on One Great Work Network. And again, my name's Jonathan Wright. And you can find me at nothingnewunderthesun.us. That's my website. And you can message me. You can contact me on my email. You can find all of that stuff on my website. And if you need to talk about alcoholism or drug addiction, I had a few people email me and stuff, and I've talked to a few people, so I'm happy to do that. And yeah, I wonder where James is still, because I still see that we're crushing live, and he said that he was going to come back, but he has not yet. So I may go into doing some Sinatra or something here, and it can get real fun. But you're very welcome for my work. I do it because I do it because, well, because if somebody was there to be able to help me and do it for me. And so I know I need to be there for somebody else at some point when it comes up, because what a fantastic, what a godsend, no other way to say it, that there was someone there to look at me at the time when I was at my lowest and go, I believe in you. Because that was huge, because I didn't. And I literally used his belief in me to get through that little bit of time. So it was good stuff, man. Good stuff. Super hard. Oh my God. But again, the superhero doesn't come about by being treated with kid gloves. And I did it to myself. I'm not blaming anybody by any means. I did, oh my God, all of it to myself. And so that's it. I had myself to thank for it. And so I did. I thanked myself for it. And that's another thing. That's probably, I guess, as I get close to, I guess, finishing out here, because I'm going to end up going to bed soon. But I do want to leave you guys with the idea that you create, well, damn, I had a brain fart. You create your reality, and you will ultimately be your own destiny. So choose it wisely, and try to always approach situations with love and with self-love. Love for yourself first, so that you can actually love others. And that's how we're going to change this thing. That's how we're going to, build food forests, because we're doing it out of love, and that love goes into the food, which then goes into other people, and then they can see that, wow, this guy or gal, whoever, turned their whole yard into something that was 100 times more than they needed, so that there would be more for people that didn't know that yet or couldn't provide for themselves yet. And that's how we change this thing. Yeah, there's going to be physical violence and war that does help change it too, and that's an inevitability. It depends on, I guess, where you're at in the country, but ultimately, love is the antithesis to the spirit that's being brought about by the New World Order. So no matter how we want to use that fire on the fire, sometimes fighting fire with fire does work, but in this spiritual realm, I do believe love is the only real way to do it. So we have to try to find our battle with love. You know what I mean? Like, you bring our battle using love, I guess, is a more appropriate way to say it. So I see that James is trying to get back. I may have to go into some singing here. Let's see. I wonder. See, I was not planning on just having to charge along. I can talk for quite a bit usually. There we go. Hey.
All right, I'm back on.
All right, man.
Can
You
you
just
hear me
threw
all
me
right?
in the hot seat for a minute, didn't you? That's fine though. I did okay, I think.
I had to power through and just get on the cellular device to make sure I got back in time.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. It just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just total loss of
Yeah,
internet.
dude, I went full screen, and I saw the counter still going, so I was like, well, apparently I'm in charge now. So here we go.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, sir. No, thank you. That was fun. That's I was not expecting that in this deal, so that was fun. That kept me on my toes.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that either. It's never happened before.
Right?
It's never happened before in just the middle of a stream.
I know.
So I
Hey, it's all
apologize
good.
to you for that, and we powered through, we pushed through. I tried to get back up on the computer, it just didn't work out that way. So I'm back on the phone now, and hopefully that never happens again. So.
Just make sure to tell your hosts or your guests rather. Okay, so if I disappear, run this fucker.
It's never happened before. I don't know, but I'm excited for the replay so I can hear what you were saying.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were listening too, because I could see you talking to me on Discord, but
yeah, I tried to listen. But
I just kind of went off of I kind of digressed into our conversation and just kind of reiterated a few things and maybe elaborated here and there a couple points, but yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I really do.
For sure.
So,
well, hey, brother, I see my mom on my baby monitor, and she's kind of like, I think, pacing or not pacing yet, but wondering, like, just up and down and up and down. And I think we should maybe get close to calling it. Got a few more minutes, but I'm going to have to go and interact with her very shortly.
okay, excellent. Sure, no problem at all.
But we've got a few minutes to tie things up and whatnot and tidy it all up.
All right. Well, how about you take the reins on that for the time being, and just let people know where they can find your material and your website and all of that.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, fantastic. Right on. Yeah, we had a little bit of technical difficulties here this evening, and I'm sure James is aghast, but it was ultimately no big deal. And so I was very appreciative to get to take the floor there for a little bit. And so if you liked what you heard and you appreciate what you've heard me talking about this evening, you find more of that and other stuff at my website, nothingnewunderthesun.us. And if you go there, you can just scroll straight down and all my social media is contained right there at the little footer at the bottom. So it's got onegreatworknetwork.com. It's got my Rumble, my Odyssey, my BitChute, and my YouTube. I have YouTube just basically for the sake of having it. They censor everything, so not much of my stuff is there. Everything is on Odyssey, and 98% of my stuff's on One Great Work Network. So two places that don't censor at all. It's amazing. The only two places I found so far. So thank you guys for being with us this evening, and thanks James again for having me. And I appreciate very much getting to share what I have found to be true with me, and to share the idea and focus of natural law and how important that is for the morality of our species, so that we can have freedom for our species. Thanks, James.
Well, hold on.
Well, he fell out again. So, oh, there he is back again. Now there's three of them. Look at now there's three of them. Oh wow, there was two. Was your clone there? Your clone was there.
I'm back.
All right.
We're going to. Nope, we're gonna stop that from happening. Holy shit! What an experience.
Yeah,
all right, so, oh man.
I think it might be your internet connection, my friend, because you froze on me again. Okay, there you are now.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. All right, my name's James Cordiner. You've been listening to A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth. This shit doesn't really happen every week. I'm gonna wrap it up right now. Go to my website, freeyourmindne.com. Go to onegreatworknetwork.com. You know, if you're watching this, wherever you're watching this, like and subscribe so you can keep up with the show. I'm live every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Please go to shatteringtheillusion.info. Go to Jonathan.
Nothingnewunderthesun.us. There you are. I hear you now. There you are.
Fucking hey, dude. All right, so I don't know. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great night. Agape.